Your wife's killer is sitting at this table right now. Those were the last words my mother ever spoke to me. And she was right. My name is James Mitchell, 48 years old, CEO of Mitchell Global Holdings. Net worth, $300 million, but none of that mattered anymore. Because 18 months ago, someone murdered my wife, Sarah. And tonight, at my father's 75th birthday dinner, my dying mother just told me the killer was family. I am sitting at a table with 12 people. My father, my brother Marcus, my uncle Tommy, my business partner Vincent, my cousins, my colleagues. One of them ordered the hit. One of them watched my wife die. And I am about to find out which one, but here is what I didn't know yet. The real shock wasn't just who killed her. It was why. Let me take you back to when everything still made sense. 2 years ago, I had it all. The American dream, wrapped up in a perfect package. A penthouse in Manhattan overlooking Central Park. A weekend estate in the Hamptons. A company that employed over 2,000 people. And Sarah. Sarah, she wasn't just my wife. She was my oxygen, my compass, my reason for every decision I'd ever made since the day I met her 23 years ago at Columbia Business School. She had this way of walking into a room and making everything quieter, calmer, like the world took a breath just to listen to her. Everyone thought I built Mitchell Global Holdings. That is what Forbes wrote. That is what CNBC reported. James Mitchell, the Wolf of Manhattan, who turned a small real estate investment firm into a global empire. But that was a lie. Sarah built it. I was just the face. Flashback 15 years ago. James, you are thinking about this all wrong. We were in our old apartment in Brooklyn, before the money, before the empire. I was sitting at our kitchen table surrounded by papers, ready to throw my laptop out the window. Our company was hemorrhaging money. We had 3 months before bankruptcy. Sarah sat down across from me. She was wearing my old Columbia hoodie, her dark hair tied up in a messy bun, reading glasses perched on her nose. She picked up the financial reports I'd been staring at for 6 hours. You are trying to compete with the big firms, she said, running her finger down the columns. That is suicide. We can't outmuscle them, but we can outthink them. Sarah, we don't have the capital to. We don't need capital. We need leverage. She pulled out a fresh sheet of paper, started drawing. Look, these massive firms, they're slow, bureaucratic. By the time they make a decision, the opportunity is gone. But us, we're small. We're fast. We can move in 48 hours. I watched her work, watched her mind dissect problems like a surgeon. Within an hour, she'd outlined a strategy that would become our signature move: rapid acquisition arbitrage. Buy distressed properties before the big firms even knew they existed. Flip them in 90 days. Reinvest in 2 years. We went from near bankruptcy to 20 million in revenue. In 5 years, we hit 100 million in 10 years. We were worth over 2 billion and everyone thought it was me. Present day, the restaurant, but I am getting ahead of myself. Let me bring you back to tonight. To the Crown, Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant, where everything fell apart. The restaurant was beautiful. Soft amber lighting. The kind of place where a bottle of wine costs more than most people's monthly rent. My father had rented out the entire 3rd floor for his birthday. 30 guests, family, close friends, business associates. I arrived late. Traffic on 5th Avenue had been a nightmare. When I walked in, everyone was already seated at the long table, crystal glasses, white tablecloths, the smell of aged whiskey and expensive cologne. James, my father stood up, arms wide. Charles Mitchell, 75 years old but still built like the Marine he'd been 50 years ago. Silver hair, strong handshake. Thought you'd miss your old man's birthday. Never Dad. I hugged him, felt his strength, felt how much he'd aged since Mom got sick. Mom. She was sitting at the far end of the table, Patricia Mitchell, 69 years old, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors had given her 3 months. That was 4 months ago. She was running on borrowed time and sheer willpower. She looked so small now. The cancer had eaten away at her. Her skin was pale, almost translucent. But her eyes were still sharp, still seeing everything. James, she reached out her hand. I walked over, bent down, kissed her forehead. Hey, Mom, sit. Her voice was weak but firm. We need to talk. Something in her tone made my blood cold. But before I could respond, my brother's voice cut through. Big brother. Marcus was walking toward me, that trademark smile on his face. Marcus Mitchell, 2 years younger than me, 46 years old. He'd spent the last 20 years in Chicago building. Well, to be honest, I'd never really known what he built. Some kind of logistics company. Transportation, he was vague about the details. But 2 years ago, right after Sarah died, he came back to New York, said he wanted to be closer to family. I'd offered him a position at Mitchell Global Holdings as my chief operations officer. He'd accepted. And honestly, he'd been incredible, supportive, loyal. The brother I'd always wanted, but never really had growing up. Marcus. I grabbed his hand, pulled him into a hug. Thanks for setting all this up. Anything for the old man, he grinned. Besides, you've been working too hard lately. You need a night off. If only I'd known. We sat down. Dinner started, steaks, wine, laughter. My father told old war stories. My Uncle Tommy argued about the Yankees. My cousin Jake tried to pitch me on some tech startup idea he had. Normal. Everything felt normal. But I kept looking at my mother. She kept staring at me. Not eating. Just watching. The whisper an hour into dinner, she stood up. Slowly, painfully. My father jumped up to help her, but she waved him off. I need to use the restroom, she said. Then her eyes locked on mine. James, help me. I stood immediately, walked over, put my arm around her tiny frame. She leaned on me and I could feel how light she was. Like she was already half gone. We walked slowly toward the back hallway, past the kitchen, past the waiters, until we were alone in the corridor leading to the restrooms. That is when she stopped, turned to face me, and what happened next changed everything. James, her hand gripped my arm with surprising strength. I am dying, Mom. Don't listen to me. Her eyes were intense now, urgent. I don't have time. I should have told you this a year ago. I should have told you the day Sarah died. But I was scared. I was a coward. And now I am out of time. My heart was pounding. Mom, what are you talking about? She took a shaky breath. Her eyes filled with tears. Sarah's killer, she whispered. He is here tonight at this table. The world stopped. I stared at her, tried to process the words, tried to make them make sense. What? Your wife's killer is sitting at that table right now. Her voice cracked. It is family, James. It is one of us. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Who? I can't tell you directly. He'll know I talked. She trailed off, looking terrified. Mom, who? The wolf. She was shaking now. They call him the wolf. He runs everything, the drugs, the weapons. She coughed. A horrible wet sound. He ordered it. Sarah's death. He wanted your company. He wanted you broken. And it is someone you trust, someone you love. My mind was racing. The wolf. I'd heard that name before. Rumors, whispers. A crime boss who'd taken over most of the East Coast underworld in the past decade. Ghost stories told by cops and criminals alike. Mom, you are not making sense. How do you? I've known for 18 months. Tears streamed down her face. I knew the week after Sarah died, and I said nothing. Because he threatened me. He said if I talked, he'd kill you too. He'd kill your father. He'd kill everyone. So I stayed quiet, like a coward. But I am dying anyway now, James. And I can't. I can't take this to my grave. She grabbed my shirt with both hands, pulled me close. Promise me, she gasped. Promise me you'll find him. Promise me you'll make him pay for what he did to Sarah, for what he did to our family. I promise. But Mom, tell me who. Her eyes went wide. Her body stiffened. Then she collapsed. Mom. I caught her as she fell. She was light as a child in my arms. Her breathing was shallow, rapid. Someone call 911. I screamed. People came running. My father, Marcus, Vincent, everyone crowding around. Patricia. My father's voice was breaking. I was on the floor, holding her. Her eyes were fluttering. Mom, stay with me. Please. She looked up at me one last time. Her lips moved. I leaned down to hear. The wolf is closer than you think. Then her eyes closed. Mount Sinai Hospital, 2:47 a.m. She died 3 hours later. I was there, holding her hand. My father was on the other side of the bed, weeping silently. Marcus stood in the corner, his face unreadable. The doctor said it was cardiac arrest. Her heart couldn't take the strain anymore. The cancer had spread to too many organs. But I knew the truth. She died because she'd finally told the truth, and the truth had killed her. The funeral, 5 days later, St. Patrick's Cathedral. Rain pouring down, 300 people in attendance. My mother had been beloved. Active in charity work, known throughout Manhattan society. I stood at the front, giving the eulogy, said all the right things. Talked about her grace, her strength, her love for family. But inside, I was screaming, because somewhere in this cathedral, sitting among the mourners, was the man who'd ordered my wife's death. The wolf. After the service, at the reception, I stood in the corner with Marcus. You holding up okay? He asked quietly. Number. I stared out at the crowd, at the faces, trying to see guilt, trying to see deception. Listen, James. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. I know the last few days have been hell. Losing Mom so soon after losing Sarah. I can't imagine. But I want you to know something. I am here. Whatever you need, I've got your back. I looked at him. My little brother, the one who'd come home when I needed him most. Thanks, Marcus. That means everything. He smiled sadly. That is what family's for, right? If only I'd known the truth. Mitchell Global Holdings. 1 week later, I threw myself into work. What else was there? My wife was dead. My mother was dead. Work was all I had left. But I couldn't focus. Couldn't think. My mother's words kept echoing in my head. The wolf is closer than you think. I called a meeting with my head of security. David Chen, former FBI, 20 years in law enforcement before I'd hired him. David, I need you to do something for me, quietly. We were alone in my office, 52nd floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. On a clear day, you could see all the way to Brooklyn. Whatever you need, sir. I want you to investigate everyone at my father's birthday dinner. I handed him a list. Everyone who was there, family, friends, business partners, everyone. David looked at the list, looked back at me. Sir, with respect, this is your family. Your closest circle. Are you sure someone at that table is connected to Sarah's death? My voice was flat, cold. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what it costs. I want to know everything about everyone on that list. where they've been, who they associate with, financial records, phone records, everything. David nodded slowly. I'll get started immediately. But sir, if this is true, if someone in your inner circle is involved, you need to be careful. Very careful. I am done being careful, David. I want the truth. He left. I sat back in my chair, stared out at the city. Somewhere out there was the wolf, and I was going to find him. The investigation begins over the next 2 weeks. David worked in secret, deep background checks, financial forensics, surveillance. He reported back to me every evening. We'd meet in my apartment, not the office, nowhere that could be bugged. Your Uncle Tommy, David said one night, spreading files across my dining table. He is in debt, serious debt, gambling problem. He owes over $2 million to various casinos and bookies. Tommy. I tried to process that. My father's brother, the fun uncle who'd taught me to play poker. Could he be desperate enough to? It is possible. Desperate men do desperate things. But there is more. David pulled out another file. Your cousin Jake, the one who is always pitching startup ideas? Yeah, he has been in contact with some questionable people. Money laundering connections. Nothing proven, but the associations are there. I felt sick. Who else? Your business partner, Vincent Russo, clean record. But his brother, Tony Russo. He is connected, known associate of the Colombo crime family. Vincent cut ties with him years ago. But family is family. Name after name, person after person. Everyone I trusted, everyone I loved. All of them had secrets. All of them had shadows. But none of them felt right. None of them felt like the wolf. Marcus then, one night, Marcus stopped by my apartment, announced. It was late. Past midnight. I was still up, going through David's reports, when my doorman called. Mr. Mitchell, your brother is here. Send him up. Marcus walked in a few minutes later. He looked tired, stressed, which was unusual. Marcus was always calm, always composed. Couldn't sleep, I asked. Yeah, you, Sammy. We sat in my living room, drank whiskey, stared at the city lights through the windows. James, I need to talk to you about something, Marcus said finally. My body tensed. Okay. I know what you are doing. He turned to look at me. The investigation, David Chen. I know you are looking into everyone at Dad's birthday dinner. I didn't deny it. How did you? I am your Kuo. I pay attention. He set down his glass. And I want to help, Marcus. No. Listen, he leaned forward. I know what Mom told you before she died. The room went cold. What? I saw you two in the hallway. I saw her grab you. I saw the look on your face. Marcus's voice was intense. She told you something about Sarah's death. Something about who was responsible. Am I right? I couldn't speak. James, I loved Sarah too. She was like a sister to me. And I've spent the last 2 years watching you fall apart. If there is even a chance, even the slightest chance that we can find out who killed her, I want in. I need in. There were tears in his eyes. Real tears, raw emotion. And I believed him. God help me. I believed him. Mom said. I took a breath. She said the killer was family. Someone at the dinner. Someone connected to a crime boss called the Wolf. Marcus's face went pale. The Wolf. You've heard of him. James, everyone's heard of him. He is a myth. A ghost. The cops have been trying to find him for 10 years? You think he is real? Mom thought so. Marcus stood up, started pacing. Okay. If this is real, if the wolf is real and he is connected to our family, we need to be smart about this. We can't trust anyone. I know. No, I mean anyone, not David. Not the cops, not even family. He stopped pacing, looked at me. Just you and me. We do this together. We find the truth together. Brothers, he held out his hand. I stared at it. This was the moment I sealed my fate. I took his hand. Brothers. The hunt over the next month, Marcus and I became a team. Every night after everyone left the office, we'd meet in my private conference room. He'd bring food, Chinese takeout, pizza, burgers. We'd spread out David's reports. We'd talk through theories. Marcus was brilliant, analytical. He'd spent 20 years in Chicago doing whatever he'd done. But it had made him street smart, savvy. He knew how to read people, how to spot lies. Look at this, he said one night, pointing at a financial report. Uncle Tommy's debt. It is too obvious. If he was really dirty, he'd hide it better. This screams distraction. You think someone's framing him, or he is just a degenerate gambler. But my gut says he is not our guy. We worked through the list systematically, cross-referencing, eliminating suspects, getting closer to the truth, or so I thought. The first lead 6 weeks after my mother's funeral, David brought me something concrete. I found a connection, he said, walking into my office. He looked excited, nervous, between Sarah's death and a known hitman. My pulse quickened. What? A man named Dominic Caruso, professional. Expensive, he is suspected in at least 15 murders over the past decade, but nothing's ever stuck. The police can't touch him. What is his connection to Sarah? Surveillance footage. David pulled out his tablet, showed me a grainy video. This is from a traffic camera 3 blocks from your house, the night Sarah died. This car, he pointed to a black sedan, is registered to a shell company, and that shell company, it is connected to Caruso. I stared at the screen, at the car that might have brought my wife's killer. Where is he now? That is the problem. He disappeared right after Sarah's death, went underground. But I am working on it. I'll find him. Find him. Find him fast. When David left, I called Marcus immediately. We got a name, I said when he answered. Dominic Caruso, professional hitman. He was near our house the night Sarah died. Silence on the other end. Marcus, I know that name. His voice was strange. Tight, give me 24 hours. I might be able to track him down. How would you, James? I didn't spend 20 years in Chicago running a logistics company. I moved freight. Sometimes questionable freight. I know people. People who know people. Let me make some calls. Okay. But be careful. Always am, big brother. The warehouse 24 hours later. Marcus called me at 11 p.m. I found him. What, Caruso? I know where he is. Get in your car. I'll text you the address. Come alone. Marcus, wait. But he'd already hung up. The address he sent was in Red Hook, Brooklyn industrial area, warehouses and shipping containers. The kind of place where people disappeared. I should have told David. Should have called the police. Should have done 1,000 things differently. But I didn't. I drove to Brooklyn. The warehouse was exactly where Marcus said it would be, abandoned. Dark, one light visible inside. I parked. Got out. The air smelled like salt water and rust. Marcus's car was already there. I walked to the door. It was unlocked. Pushed it open. Marcus, in here. I followed his voice. Through the dark warehouse, past old machinery boxes, until I reached a small office in the back. Marcus was standing there, and tied to a chair in front of him was a man middle-aged, beaten. Blood on his face. Jesus Christ, Marcus, relax. This is Caruso. Marcus's voice was calm. Too calm. I've been having a conversation with him. I stared at the man in the chair. "Did you kill my wife?" Caruso looked up at me. His eyes were swollen. But there was fear there, real fear. I didn't want to." He mumbled through broken teeth. "Who ordered it?" I screamed. "I can't, he'll kill me." Marcus moved so fast I barely saw it. Punched Caruso in the face. The sound was sickening. "Talk," Marcus said quietly. Caruso was crying now. The wolf ordered it. He paid me $200,000, said it had to look like an accident. Car crash. I cut her brake lines. I am sorry. I am so sorry. My legs nearly gave out. This man, this piece of shit, he'd murdered Sarah, cut her brakes, sent her car careening off the West Side Highway into the Hudson River. I wanted to kill him. "Who is the wolf?" Marcus asked. "I don't know." Caruso was panicking now. "I never met him. It was all through intermediaries. Phone calls. I swear I don't know. You are lying." "I am not, please. I am telling you everything." Marcus looked at me. "What do you want to do with him? What would you do?" I stood there, staring at the man who'd killed my wife. Part of me wanted to pull the trigger myself. End him. Make him suffer the way Sarah had suffered in those final moments, when she realized her brakes weren't working, when she knew she was going to die. But another part of me, the part that Sarah had believed in, the part that still wanted to be a good man. "Call David," I said finally. "Let him handle this. Get this piece of shit arrested. Put him in prison for the rest of his life." Marcus nodded. "Okay, smart, legal route." He pulled out his phone, but as he dialed, something caught my attention. On the desk next to Caruso, a burner phone. Caruso's phone, probably. I picked it up, scrolled through the recent calls. Most were to numbers I didn't recognize. But one number looked familiar. 312-555-0147. I'd seen that area code recently. 312, Chicago area code. And suddenly my blood ran cold, because I'd seen this exact number before in David's reports. In the background, checks it was Marcus's old Chicago number. I'd seen that area code recently. The number he'd used before moving back to New York. I looked up slowly. Marcus was still on the phone with David, not noticing, not seeing. My mind was racing. Number no. No. It couldn't be. There had to be an explanation. Maybe Caruso had called Chicago for some other reason. Maybe it was a coincidence. But then I remembered what my mother had said. The wolf is closer than you think. And Sarah's last words, the ones I'd remembered in the hospital. If anything happens to me, look at the people closest to you. Number, I slipped the phone into my pocket. Kept my face neutral. Marcus hung up. David's on his way. 20 minutes. Good, my voice sounded normal. Calm. Even though inside I was screaming, we waited in silence. Caruso whimpered in the chair. When David arrived with 2 of his security team, they took Caruso into custody. Hauled him away to turn over to the NYPD. Marcus and I walked out together. "We got him," Marcus said, putting his arm around my shoulders. "We actually got him. Sarah can rest now." "Yeah." I couldn't look at him. "Yeah, she can. You want to grab a drink, celebrate?" "I am exhausted, Marcus. Rain check?" "Sure, of course." He squeezed my shoulder. "You did good tonight, big brother. Real good." I watched him drive away. Then I sat in my car for 20 minutes, staring at that phone number, trying to convince myself I was wrong. But deep down, I knew. My brother was the wolf. The morning after, I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Marcus's face. Heard his voice. That is what family's for. Right? I sat in my penthouse, in the dark, staring at that burner phone, at that Chicago number, trying to find any other explanation. Any reason that wasn't the one tearing my heart apart. Maybe Caruso had called Marcus accidentally. Maybe it was a wrong number. Maybe Marcus had been investigating on his own and Caruso had somehow gotten his old number. Maybe. But I'd built a $300 million empire by trusting my instincts. And my instincts were screaming at me. My brother killed my wife. At 6 a.m. I called David Chen, sir. He sounded alert despite the early hour. Former FBI agents never really stopped being alert. David, that phone we found on Crusoe. The burner, I need you to pull all the records, every call, every text, every contact. And I need you to do it without anyone knowing, not the police, not your team, just you. Pause. Sir, what is going on? I can't explain yet. Just trust me, please. I'll have it by tonight. Mitchell Global Holdings. 9 a.m. I went to the office. Had to maintain normalcy. Had to pretend everything was fine. Marcus was already there when I arrived, sitting in my conference room with the senior management team, weekly operations meeting. James, he stood up, that familiar smile. There you are. I was just filling everyone in on the Caruso arrest. Hell of a night, huh? Everyone was looking at me, congratulating me, saying how sorry they were about Sarah, how glad they were that justice was finally being served. I shook hands, smiled, said thank you, all while studying Marcus's face, looking for cracks, for signs, for anything that would prove I was wrong about him. But he was perfect, calm, supportive. The brother everyone wished they had. And that is what made it so much worse. The meeting dragged on for 2 hours. Quarterly projections, expansion plans, investment strategies, all the things that used to matter to me. Now they felt like noise. When everyone finally left, Marcus lingered. Hey, you okay? He closed the conference room door. You seem off. Just tired, didn't sleep. Yeah, I get that. Last night was intense. He sat down across from me. Listen, I've been thinking. We should celebrate properly. Maybe this weekend. Just you, me, Dad. Go fishing upstate like we used to when we were kids. Get away from all this for a few days. I looked at him. Really looked at him. Marcus had always been the handsome one. The charming one. Where I was serious and driven, he was laid back and easygoing. Women loved him. Men wanted to be his friend. He had this natural charisma that I'd always envied. And I'd missed him. God, I'd missed him during those 20 years he was in Chicago. When he came back 2 years ago, it felt like I'd gotten part of my childhood back. The brother who used to sneak me extra dessert when Mom wasn't looking. Who taught me to throw a baseball? Who beat up Tommy Rizzo in 7th grade for calling me a nerd? How could that person be a monster? Fishing sounds good, I heard myself say. Perfect, I'll set it up. He stood, clapped me on the shoulder. And James, I know I've said it before, but I am really glad I came home. These past 2 years, working with you, being close again, it has meant everything to me. You are the best man I know. Then he left, and I sat there alone, feeling like I was drowning. Flashback 25 years ago, I need you to understand something. Marcus wasn't always, whatever he became. We were close once, really close. I was 23. Marcus was 21. We just lost our mother's father, our grandfather, to a heart attack. The funeral was in Boston. Small ceremony. Family only afterward. Marcus and I went to a bar near Fenway Park. Got drunk on cheap beer and grief. I am scared, James, Marcus said suddenly. We were on our 4th beer. Maybe 5th. Of what? Of ending up like Grandpa. He stared at his bottle, Working his whole life, 60 years at the same factory. Never traveled, never did anything. Big then. Boom, heart attack at 71. That is it. That is the whole story. That is not going to happen to you. How do you know? He looked at me with these desperate eyes. I am not like you, James. You're the smart one. Columbia Business School. Going to build empires and change the world. But me, I am just average. I'll probably end up in some middle management job, married with 2.5 kids, living in the suburbs, dying with regrets. Marcus, you are not average, you are. I want to matter. His voice cracked. I want to do something that matters. Something that makes people remember my name. Is that selfish? Number, it is human. He finished his beer, ordered another. Promise me something. What? If I ever start settling, if I ever start becoming invisible, you'll tell me, you'll kick my ass and remind me that life is short and we don't get do-overs. I promised. I didn't know then that his fear of being invisible would turn him into a monster. Present day, David's report. David came to my apartment at 11 p.m. alone, carrying a thick folder. You are not going to like this, he said, laying it on my dining table. I opened it. Caruso's burner phone records. Dozens of calls over the past 3 years. To numbers in New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Miami, Las Vegas, and Chicago. This number here. David pointed to 312-5550147. Appears 17 times in the call logs. All in the 6 months leading up to Sarah's death. After that, nothing. Whose number is it? David looked at me carefully. It is registered to a freight company in Chicago, Midwest Transport Solutions. Legitimate business on paper. But when you dig deeper, there are connections, money laundering, illegal shipments. It is registered to a freight company in Chicago. The FBI has suspected for years that it is a front. Who owns it? That is where it gets complicated. The company is owned by a shell corporation, which is owned by another shell corporation, which is owned by a trust in the Cayman Islands. I've been trying to trace it back for hours, but whoever set this up knew what they were doing. It is a maze, but you found something. Yay, he pulled out another document, the original business license, filed 22 years ago, before they got sophisticated with the shell games, and the signature on the license. He handed it to me. I stared at the name, Marcus R. Mitchell. The room tilted, sir. David's voice sounded far away. Are you okay? I couldn't speak. There is more, David continued quietly. I started digging into your brother's time in Chicago, and James, there are gaps. Big gaps. Months where he disappears from any official record. No tax returns, no utility bills, no credit card transactions, like he didn't exist. What are you saying? I am saying that the logistics business, it might have been real, but I think it was also a cover for something else, something bigger. I set down the document. My hands were shaking. The wolf, I said. David nodded. It is possible. The timeline fits. The wolf appeared on law enforcement's radar about 15 years ago. Started in Chicago. Gradually expanded. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking. But he is a ghost. No one's ever seen him. No one knows his real identity. Except my mother, sir. If Marcus is the wolf, and if he killed Sarah. David paused. You need to be very careful. This isn't just your brother anymore. This is one of the most dangerous criminals on the East Coast. He has resources, people. If he suspects you know, he won't. My voice was hard, cold. I'll make sure he doesn't. The investigation deepens over the next 3 weeks. I became someone I didn't recognize. I lied to my brother's face every single day, smiled, laughed at his jokes, went fishing with him and Dad like I'd promised, all while secretly investigating him. I hired private investigators, not David, different people Marcus wouldn't know to follow him, to document his movements, to photograph everyone he met with. The evidence piled up, photos of Marcus meeting with known criminals, outside a strip club in Newark, at a restaurant in Queens, in a parking garage in Tribeca, financial records showing money moving through his freight company, millions of dollars, in and out, cleaned and distributed, testimony from informants, arranged by David through his FBI contacts, describing a crime boss called the Wolf who ran everything from Chicago, who'd expanded to New York 2 years ago, who was consolidating power, taking over territories. 2 years ago, right when Marcus came home. And the worst part? The part that made me want to throw up every time I thought about it. It all made sense. Marcus hadn't come home to be close to family. He'd come home to expand his empire. And Sarah, brilliant, strategic Sarah, had been in his way. Because she'd known. Somehow she'd figured it out. Flashback 2 years ago. Sarah's suspicion. I found her diary 3 weeks into my investigation. It had been in storage with her other personal items. I'd never been able to bring myself to go through them before. But now I needed answers. The diary was leather-bound, expensive. Sarah had always been particular about things like that. I sat on our old bedroom floor. I still hadn't touched anything in that room, and opened it. Most of it was normal day-to-day thoughts, business ideas, personal reflections, but then I found an entry from 6 months before she died. The 15th of March, something's wrong with Marcus. I can't put my finger on it, but there is something off about him. The way he answers questions, the vague explanations about his business in Chicago, the phone calls he takes in private. James is so happy to have him back, his little brother, home again after 20 years. And maybe I am being paranoid. Maybe I am seeing shadows where there aren't any. But my instincts built this company, and my instincts are telling me that Marcus Mitchell is hiding something. I am going to do some digging, quietly. I don't want to worry James if I am wrong. The next entry was 2 weeks later. The 29th of March, I was right. I hired a private investigator to look into Marcus's Chicago business. What I found, James can't know about this yet. Not until I am sure. Midwest Transport Solutions isn't what Marcus says it is. The money flowing through that company. It is impossible. No legitimate freight business generates that kind of revenue. I think Marcus is involved in something illegal, possibly very illegal. I am going to confront him tomorrow. Give him a chance to explain. Maybe there is a reasonable explanation. Maybe I am wrong, but if I am right, God, if I am right, it is going to destroy James. That was her last entry. She died 3 days later. I sat there, holding her diary, and I finally let myself cry. Really cry. For the first time since she'd died, because now I knew she'd figured it out. She'd known Marcus was dirty, and she'd confronted him, and he'd killed her for it. The confrontation plan, I couldn't go to the police. Not yet. Marcus was too connected, too smart. He'd have contingencies, escape plans. And if I moved too soon, he'd disappear. Or worse, he'd hurt someone else. I needed to do this right. I needed a confession, recorded. Irrefutable. David helped me set it up. We chose neutral ground. A warehouse I owned in Brooklyn. Different from the one where we'd found Caruso. This one was empty, quiet, private, and I had it wired. Cameras, microphones. Everything. I called Marcus on a Friday afternoon. Hey, can we meet tonight? I need to talk to you about something. Something important. Sure, of course, everything okay. Yeah, I need your advice on something. Business thing. Can you meet me at the Brooklyn warehouse? The one on Kent Avenue. Around 8 p.m., absolutely I'll be there. The warehouse. 8 p.m. I arrived early. Made sure everything was working. Cameras recording. Audio clear. David was in a van 2 blocks away, monitoring everything. Ready to call in backup if things went wrong. At 8:15 p.m., Marcus pulled up. I watched him get out of his car, watched him walk toward the warehouse, looking so normal, so brotherly. How was I supposed to do this? He walked in, saw me standing in the middle of the empty space. James, he looked around. This is dramatic. What is going on? I need to ask you something. My voice was steady, surprisingly steady. And I need you to tell me the truth. His expression changed, got careful, okay. Did you kill Sarah? Silence. The warehouse was so quiet I could hear traffic on the BQA 3 blocks away. Marcus's face went through several emotions. Surprise, confusion, then something else. Something I couldn't quite read. What? Did you kill Sarah? James, what the hell are you talking about? Why would you even? I found Caruso's phone records. I pulled them out, threw them on the floor between us. Your number 17 calls in 6 months, your freight company, your shell corporations, your meetings with criminals all over the city. Marcus stared at the papers, then back at me. You've been investigating me. Answer the question. James, listen to me. Answer the goddamn question. My voice echoed through the warehouse. Marcus stood very still. And then, slowly, his entire demeanor changed. The warm brotherly expression vanished, replaced by something cold, calculating. It was like watching a mask slip off. Okay, he said quietly. Okay, you want the truth. Fine, let's talk about the truth. He walked closer. I tensed, but he stopped about 10 feet away. Yeah, I am the wolf. Have been for 15 years. Built an empire in Chicago: drugs, weapons, money laundering. Everything you've suspected and more. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face neutral. And Sarah, I gave the order. His voice was flat, matter of fact. Caruso cut her brakes. She died quickly. It was actually one of the cleaner hits I've ordered. He said it like he was discussing the weather. Why? My voice cracked. She never did anything to you. She figured me out. Marcus shrugged. Hired a pie, started asking questions. She was smart, James, too smart. She was going to expose me, destroy everything I'd built. So I eliminated the threat. It is business. Busyness. I could barely speak. You killed my wife and you call it business. What else would you call it? He tilted his head. You of all people should understand. You didn't build Mitchell Global Holdings by being soft. You crushed competitors, took over companies, destroyed people's lives when they got in your way. The only difference between us is I am honest about it. We're nothing alike. No, he laughed. Cold, bitter. You know what the funny thing is? I came back to New York for you, James. I had everything in Chicago: respect, fear, power. But I came back because I actually missed you. My big brother, the only person who ever gave a damn about me. If you missed me, why did you? Because you had everything. His voice rose. The perfect life, the perfect wife, the perfect wife, the perfect company. Everyone loved you. Restust, the brother, the one who disappeared, the one nobody asked about. Marcus, do you know what it is like? He was pacing now, agitated. To always be in someone's shadow. To know that no matter what you do, you'll never be as good. never be as loved. So you became a crime lord? You murdered my wife because you were jealous. I became someone who mattered, he screamed. Someone people feared. Someone with real power, not just some CEO playing Monopoly with Daddy's money. Daddy's money. I built that company from nothing. Number Sarah built it. You were just the face, he sneered. Everyone knows it, James. You are not some genius. You are just lucky you married the right woman. And then I took her away from you. And guess what? You fell apart, just like I knew you would. I wanted to kill him right there, but I held back because I needed him to keep talking, needed the full confession. Why come work for me then? I asked. Why play this game? Because he stopped, stared at me, and then he started laughing. Really laughing? Oh, you think you are so clever. You brought me here to confess. You are recording this, aren't you? My blood went cold. You think I don't know how you think? He shook his head. You are my brother, James. I know you better than anyone. I knew the second you found that phone number that you'd start investigating. I've been watching you, following your investigators, monitoring your conversations. You are lying. Am I? He pulled out his phone, showed me the screen. It was a live feed of David's van, 2 blocks away. I have 6 men surrounding that van right now, Marcus said calmly. One word from me and your security chief dies, along with anyone else you brought as backup. Oh God. So here is what is going to happen, Marcus continued. You are going to stop this investigation. You are going to accept that Caruso killed Sarah alone. No conspiracy. Case closed. You are going to keep me on as your kuo, and we're going to continue being brothers. One big happy family. And if I don't, then I kill everyone you love. He said it so simply, so easily. Dad, your cousins, David, your entire board of directors, everyone, and I'll make sure you watch. I stared at him. This stranger wearing my brother's face. How long have you been planning this? I asked. Planning what? Everything coming back, infiltrating my company, all of it. Marcus smiled. Since the day Sarah figured me out. See, I realized something. Why kill you when I could use you? You are worth $300 million, James. Your company is worth billions. I don't need to destroy you. I need to control you. Make you a puppet. Run everything through Mitchell Global Holdings. It is perfect. You are insane. I am practical. He put his phone away. Now are we clear? Or do I need to make an example of someone? What would you do? I stood there, faced with an impossible choice. Let my brother, this monster, win. Let him get away with murdering Sarah. Let him use me, use my company, use everything I'd built. Or fight back, risk everyone I loved, risk everything. But then I remembered something Sarah used to say. The right choice is rarely the easy choice. No, I said quietly. Marcus's smile faded. What? I said no. I looked him in the eye. You are not going to control me. You are not going to use my company. And you are sure as hell not going to hurt anyone else I love. James, don't be stupid. I have backup plans too, Marcus. I pulled out my phone, showed him. Right now, every piece of evidence I've gathered is being sent to the FBI. Every photo, every document, every financial record, your shell corporations, your criminal associates, everything. His face went white. You are also being live-streamed right now, not just recorded, live-streamed to 5 different secure servers. Your entire confession, already backed up, already in the hands of the authorities. You are bluffing. Am I? I smiled grimly. I learned from the best, little brother. You taught me, never walk into a room without knowing all the exits. For the first time, Marcus looked uncertain. It is over, I said. You are done. He stood there for a long moment. Then he started laughing again, but this time it was different. Desperate. Unhinged. You think you've won. He reached into his jacket. Marcus, don't. He pulled out a gun, and that is when the doors burst open. FBI agents, dozens of them, flooding the warehouse, guns drawn, shouting commands, drop the weapon, drop it now. Marcus looked around, trapped, surrounded. Then he looked at me. This isn't over, he said. And then he ran. The chase. Marcus was fast. Always had been. Back in high school, he'd been the track star, the one who could outrun anyone. I'd forgotten that until I watched him sprint toward the back exit of the warehouse, FBI agents shouting behind him. Stop, FBI. But he didn't stop. He burst through the back door. I heard tires screeching, a car, one of his men, waiting outside, and then he was gone. Special Agent Victoria Torres approached me. Mid-40s, sharp eyes. She'd been the one coordinating with David for the past week, setting up this operation. Mr. Mitchell, are you hurt? I am fine. But David, my security chief, he is in a van 2 blocks from here. Marcus said he has men surrounding him already on it. She spoke into her radio. Alpha Team, converge on the surveillance van. Kent and Barry, possible hostiles in the area. She turned back to me. Your brother is dangerous, armed, desperate. Do you have any idea where he might run? Number, my mind was blank. He could go anywhere. He has resources. Money, safe houses probably. We'll find him. Her voice was confident. He just confessed to murder on a federal live stream. Every law enforcement agency in the country is looking for him now. He won't get far. But she was wrong. Marcus disappeared. The manhunt, day 1. The story broke on the news within hours. Prominent CEO's brother revealed as crime lord the Wolf unmasked. Manhattan executive's secret life billionaire family torn apart by murder confession. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, business partners, friends, everyone wanting a statement, wanting details, wanting to know how I didn't see it. How didn't I see it? I turned off my phone, went to my father's house in Westchester. Dad was sitting in his study, staring at the wall. He'd aged 10 years in the past 6 hours. The news vans were parked outside his gates. Cameras everywhere. Dad, he looked up at me. His eyes were hollow. Did you know? He asked quietly. Not until 3 weeks ago. Your mother knew. His voice cracked. She knew for 18 months, and she never told me. My own wife, she let me. She let me have dinners with him, celebrate with him, love him, all while knowing what he'd done to Sarah. I sat down next to him. She was protecting us. Marcus threatened her, threatened you. She was trying to keep us safe by lying. He stood up, anger rising, by letting that monster walk free, by pretending everything was fine while he worked alongside you every day, pretending to help, pretending to care. He threw his glass against the wall. It shattered. I don't even know who he is. Neither did I. The man I'd called my brother for 48 years was a stranger. Flashback, the truth about Mother. That night, alone in my father's guest room, I found something, a letter. In my mother's handwriting. It had been left with Dad's lawyer, with instructions to give it to me, if anything ever happened. The lawyer had brought it over that evening. I opened it with shaking hands. My dearest James, if you are reading this, I am gone. And you've learned the truth about Marcus. I need you to understand why I stayed silent for so long. 18 months ago, 3 weeks after Sarah died, Marcus came to see me. Alone. He told me everything, who he really was, what he'd done, and he gave me a choice. Stay quiet, and you live. You and your father live, or tell the truth, and he kills everyone. Not just Charles and me, your cousins, everyone we love. He showed me photos, James, of hired killers, outside your apartment, outside your office. He told me in detail how he would make you suffer before you died, how he'd make it look like an accident, like grief had driven you to suicide. I believed him because I knew with absolute certainty that the boy I'd raised was gone. Whatever Marcus had become in Chicago, it had killed the son I remembered. So I stayed quiet. I watched him play the loving brother, watched him infiltrate your life, your company, and every day I died a little more inside. The cancer was almost a relief, because it gave me an excuse, a reason to finally tell you the truth without him suspecting. A dying woman's last confession. He couldn't blame me for that, couldn't punish me for the ramblings of someone already dead. I am so sorry I wasn't braver. I am sorry I chose our lives over justice for Sarah. I am sorry I left you with this burden. But I know you, James. You are stronger than I ever was. You are stronger than your father, stronger than Marcus ever realized. You'll do what I couldn't. You'll stop him. I love you. Always. Mom, I read it 3 times. Then I went to the bathroom and threw up. Day 3. The call. Marcus called me at 2 a.m. I don't know how he got through. My phone was supposed to be monitored by the FBI, but somehow his voice came through the speaker. Hello, brother. I bolted upright in bed. Marcus. Surprised. You shouldn't be. I told you. I have resources even now. Where are you? Somewhere safe. Somewhere you'll never find me. He sounded calm. Too calm. I am calling to say goodbye. Goodbye. I am leaving the country tonight. Private plane, false documents, new identity. By tomorrow, the wolf will be dead. And Marcus Mitchell, he'll be a ghost story, a cautionary tale. Nothing more. You won't get away with this. I already have. He laughed. But before I go, I want you to know something. I want you to understand. Understand what? Why I did it. All of it. I waited. Do you remember that night in Boston? He asked. After Grandpa's funeral, we got drunk. I told you I was scared of being invisible. I remember. I meant it. Every word. I was terrified of living a meaningless life, of being nobody. And for 20 years, I tried to be somebody. Built an empire, made millions, had people fear my name. But you know what? It didn't matter, because to you, to Dad, to Mom, I was still just Marcus. The little brother, the one who wasn't as smart as James, wasn't as successful as James, wasn't as loved as James. That is not true. Isn't it? His voice rose. When I came back to New York, do you know what Dad said to me? At that first dinner, he said, maybe your brother can finally teach you what it takes to be successful. Like I was a failure. Like I'd wasted 20 years. Marcus and Sarah, perfect Sarah. When I told her about my freight business, you know what she said? She said, that is nice. James and I are working on our 3rd billion. Like I was a child with a lemonade stand. So you killed her. My voice was ice. You killed her because she made you feel small. Silence. No, he said finally. I killed her because she was going to destroy me, the ego thing. That was just bonus. Monster. But here is what I really called to tell you, Marcus continued. I am sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now. I know it doesn't bring Sarah back. But I need you to know, I loved you. I really did. You were the best brother anyone could ask for. And I destroyed that. I destroyed us. And I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. You'll live with it in prison. Maybe, or maybe I'll live with it on a beach somewhere, drinking margaritas, watching the sunset. He paused. Goodbye, James. I hope someday you can forgive me, even though I know you shouldn't. The line went dead. The trap agent Torres called me 20 minutes later. We traced the call. He is still in the country Brooklyn, Red Hook area, probably planning to leave from a private marina. Send me the address. Mr. Mitchell, you need to stay. Send me the address. She sent it. I drove to Brooklyn at 3 a.m. The FBI was already setting up a perimeter around an abandoned shipping warehouse near the water. Same area where we'd found Caruso weeks ago. Marcus had come full circle. I parked outside the perimeter. Got out. Agent Torres approached me immediately. You shouldn't be here. I need to be here. She studied my face, then nodded. Stay behind the line. We're going in 5 minutes. But I didn't wait 5 minutes, because I saw him. Marcus walking along the dock, alone, carrying a duffel bag, heading toward a small yacht. And something in me snapped. I ran. James, no. Torres's voice behind me. But I didn't stop. I sprinted across the parking lot, jumped the fence, ran toward the dock. Marcus heard me, turned, saw me coming, and he didn't run. He just stood there, waiting. I reached him, breathing hard. He looked tired, older, like the past 3 days had aged him years. You came, he said. Did you think I wouldn't? I hoped you wouldn't. He set down the duffel bag. You should have stayed away, James. Let the FBI handle this. Let me disappear. Would have been easier for both of us. Nothing about this is easy. Number, he smiled sadly. No, I suppose not. Behind us I could hear shouting, the FBI converging. But we had a minute, maybe less. Tell me one thing, I said. Just one thing. Did you ever really come back for me? Or was it always about the business? About taking over? Marcus looked out at the water. The sky was starting to lighten. Dawn coming. Both, he said finally, I really did miss you, really did want to be close again. But I also wanted what you had. And I couldn't figure out how to have one without destroying the other. You could have just talked to me. I would have helped you, given you anything you needed. I know, he turned back to me, tears in his eyes. And that is what makes this so much worse. You would have helped me, because you are good, James. You always were, and his voice broke. I am not. You could have been. Number, he shook his head. I think I was broken a long time ago. I just didn't want to admit it. The FBI was 20 yards away now, surrounding us, guns drawn. Marcus Mitchell, get on the ground now. Marcus looked at them, then back at me. I am not going to prison, he said quietly. Marcus, don't. He reached into his jacket. Gun, he is reaching for a gun. Everything happened in slow motion. Marcus pulling out a pistol, FBI agents screaming, me diving toward him. Marcus, no. But he wasn't pointing the gun at them. He was pointing it at me. I am sorry, brother, he whispered. And then, gunfire. Not from Marcus's gun. From the FBI, 4 shots. 5, 6. Marcus's body jerked. Stumbled backward, fell. No, I caught him as he went down. We collapsed together on the dock. His blood spreading across the wooden planks, mixing with the morning dew. Marcus, I cradled his head. Stay with me. Someone call an ambulance. But I knew, we both knew, he was dying. James, his voice was faint wet. I wasn't going to shoot you. What? Just wanted you to know how it felt, he coughed. Blood on his lips. To lose everything. You are not losing everything. You are going to be okay. We're going to liar. He smiled. You were always a terrible liar. Agent Torres was beside me, checking Marcus's pulse, calling for medical. But Marcus's eyes were on mine. Tell Dad, he gasped. Tell him. I am sorry. Tell him. Tell him what? Tell him what? Tell him. The boy he raised is still in here somewhere. Just buried too deep. His hand reached up, touched my face, like when we were kids, when he'd comfort me after a nightmare. Love you, big brother. Then his hand dropped, his eyes went empty, and Marcus Mitchell, the wolf, was gone. Epilogue: 6 months later, I sold Mitchell Global Holdings, all of it, the entire company, for $2.4 billion. Some people called it crazy, walking away from everything I'd built, but they didn't understand. Sarah had built it, not me. And without her, it was just a monument to a lie. I used the money to create the Sarah Mitchell Foundation, dedicated to helping victims of organized crime, supporting families destroyed by violence, giving them resources, hope, a future. It is what she would have wanted. My father retired, moved to a small house in Vermont, away from the city, away from the memories. We talk once a week, sometimes more. We're both trying to heal, trying to forgive ourselves for not seeing what Marcus had become. Agent Torres kept in touch, told me they dismantled Marcus's entire organization, arrested over 40 people, seized hundreds of millions in assets. The wolf's empire was gone. But the cost. I visit 2 graves now. Every Sunday morning, Sarah's first. I bring her lilies, her favorite. Tell her about the foundation, about all the people we're helping. Ask her if she is proud of me. Then Marcus's, his grave is simple. No epitaph, just his name and dates. Nobody else visits. He died hated, reviled, a monster in everyone's eyes. But I bring him flowers anyway. Because despite everything, despite the lies, the betrayal, the murder, he was still my brother. And part of me, the part that remembers fishing trips and late-night talks and drunken promises, part of me still loves him, still mourns what he could have been. Last week, I started dating again. Her name is Rachel. She is a teacher, knows nothing about business, about money, about any of this. She makes me laugh, makes me feel human again. Sarah would have liked her, I think. I hope. Some stories don't have happy endings. Some stories end with blood on a dock and holes in your heart that never quite heal. But you keep going. You keep trying to be better than the darkness that tried to swallow you. Because that is what Sarah would have wanted. That is what Mom would have wanted. And somewhere, buried under all the evil he'd done, maybe it is what Marcus would have wanted too. The boy who was scared of being invisible, who became a monster trying to be seen, who died in his brother's arms, asking for forgiveness he didn't deserve but received anyway. Because that is what family does. Even when it shouldn't, even when it breaks you.